Hello and welcome to Recovery for Life. I'm Chris Howard, your counselor at Midtown Health Wellness in New York City, and host of this weekly podcast where we discuss addiction and recovery and anything else that comes to mind. Pure, of course, meaning equal, meaning we're all on a level playing field, which means I'm in recovery myself. As of this past January, I've got 10 years clean and sober. I should note that it took me 18 years to get here. Relapse isn't required, but certainly isn't uncommon. That may sound like a reasonable amount of time in recovery, but the truth is, today is all that matters. Every single day, we make a decision to remain sober. Before we get going, it's important to mention that I am not a doctor, and we are not here to dispense medical advice. We don't advocate any particular course of treatment. Please speak with your physician regarding any issues related to your specific medication or treatment plan. If you don't have a program and would like to discuss options, you can find Midtown Health and Wellness at nyc-doctor.com. This series of podcasts is essentially our group discussions on tape. The four others joining me today are all part of the Suboxone program at Midtown Health. So one of our recurring topics will be everyone's personal feelings about medication-assisted recovery. The focus will not be so much on our past, our addictions, but how we're navigating our individual paths toward physical and emotional health. Putting down the substance is the first step. What happens next is recovery. In recent episodes, we've been introducing ourselves, with each program focusing on one person's journey through addiction into recovery. Tonight, Bennie is going to share his story with us. But first, I'm going to virtually pass the mic and give everyone a few minutes to check in. And since Bennie's going, he'll be last. How about Audrey? You want to check in?
Sure. Hello. I feel a lot better than I did last week. Physically, I'm not that sick anymore, so that's good. It wasn't COVID. I don't know what it was, but feeling better. I had an okay week. This weekend, I got to go to my aunt's memorial, so that was really emotional, but it felt kind of nice to let my emotions out and cry and, be around family. And it was just a really nice memoir to her, all the stuff that everyone said. And I'm glad that I went, and it just feels like I don't want to say it was a good thing, because obviously, my aunt passed away. It's not a good thing, but it was nice to be around family. I guess it's the silver lining, to see cousins that I haven't seen before or seen in a while. To just do a great tribute to her, spend some time with family, and mentally, I guess I'm feeling pretty good about everything. Applied to a bunch more jobs, and just gonna keep trying. So yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks. John, you're up.
Hi, this is John checking in. Had a really good week, good weekend. I was in Connecticut visiting with my family. Literally was just there the previous weekend. So I don't know. I had mixed feelings going back, but it was my mom's birthday, and it was also I guess there was a baby shower for my brother's wife, who's having twins. I'm a twin. He's having twins. They're not identical, but I just think that's amazing. Just back at work, trying to get back in the groove of things. Got my Suboxone shot coming up next week. So just trying to prepare for that. And yeah, that's really it. Doing good.
That's good, man. Thanks. Amy, your turn.
I really don't have too much to say this week. I've just really been depressed and down, but just trying to keep my face on, for my little girl, and stay happy and try to have some happy moments. But I've really been down and out.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for sharing that. I am okay. Week's been a blur for me a bit. I've got a lot going on, which I may get into next week when it's my turn to talk, because it's going to be my turn next week, because I'll be the only one left. So it'll be time. All in all, I am remaining positive. That's what I'm doing, because what other choice do I have? That is it. So I'm going to pass this along to Bennie, who's taking the floor tonight. and let him give us a little bit about his story and how he got here and how he came to be doing this with us. So Benny, you're on, bud.
Hello. My name is Bennie. I'm hella nervous. I have been in Suboxone treatment for I think 18 months. I've been living in New York City for probably 14 months. And I joined Midtown when I moved here last April. Well, I should just go ahead and start by saying that I've been relapsing recently, and it's been really pretty bumpy, and it's just such an ongoing process of remembering why I'm trying to stay sober, and why I feel there isn't really much compromise that I can make. And it's like every cell in my body still wants to make compromises about using substances and controlling how I feel, and my sense of accomplishment. So, but right now I feel like my relationship with God and myself and just sense of intuition and my sense of my path, most everything is telling me that I really need to be staying sober and just doing exactly whatever it is I need to do to keep that going. That could have been the end of my share, but that was the beginning. So I will start with just remembering back to being, I feel like around 10 years old is the first time I realized that drugs existed, and I was always curious about them. And I remember doing a written project on marijuana farming. And I just remember being so enchanted by the Wikipedia page on weed when I was 10 years old and wanting to try it, and just already at that time really obsessing about it. And even though I didn't ever get any effect from it, I would do it on the weekends with a friend that I had who could steal it from his mom. And I didn't understand even what the effect was. It never had any effect on me, but we would do it every weekend. And then when I was 13, I guess something happened to my brain, and it was on 420 actually. But a friend of mine gave me a half of a gram as a gift, and I rolled it up in some tissue paper and smoked the whole thing and got high for the first time. And it was crazy hallucinogenic experience. It was so intense. I thought I was swallowing my tongue, and I crawled under the ottoman at my parents' house and was just catatonic there for a few hours. I'm laughing, but it was intense. And I was trying to calm myself down with music. And I remember getting a text from my mom that was "Hey, Benny, we're going to go get sushi with Lynn, our friend Lynn." And I was what a nightmare, And it's crazy thinking back to that I was 13, because I relate to that experience so much now, because anytime I use, there's always some text message or something I get that I just feel I got caught, somebody's remote viewing me. And it's just there's such a deep sense that I'm doing the wrong thing. And I think I've always had that since the very beginning of being tempted by drugs. Is a deep sense of guilt and shame about it. And that kept me probably from taking things as far as I would have otherwise. But so that was when I was 13. When I was 14 and got to high school, public school for the first time, weed was suddenly kind of cool and normalized. And I just decided I could be a stoner kid and still do decent in school, and it wasn't that abnormal. And that actually wasn't ever really a problem, but I got with two of my friends, Dylan and DeAndre, we all got caught like our parents were suspicious, and they all decided together that we had been smoking weed and that they were going to do like an intervention. And they did this intervention on the three of us, and like Dylan and DeAndre's parents were both like really like big, burly, intense, like Texan Republicans. I'm from Texas, by the way. And my parents are both like total subs. So I don't know, but I felt overpowered in a way that like I wasn't really used to by these like authority figures, and was like, okay, I felt, I was like, okay, I can't be a stoner anymore. I got the message. And then that in combination with a breakup led to like when I was 14, like I started smoking cigarettes, and I started like using Vyvanse late at night, and just like whatever I could kind of get my hands on. And I would just like pop a Vyvanse and just like stay up all night in the TV room, just like watching VH1 Classic or something, and like making little drawings on my phone. I don't know. I just liked the effect of drugs, I don't know. I would just do it but it did quickly become something that I associated with productivity. I realized that like I could use them to like concentrate and focus. And I was feeling really ambitious about art at that time, songwriting. And I started using substances to write music. I was in a band with this guy DeAndre, and I was like trying to force myself to write like a song every day. And yeah, so it started off with Vyvanse and mixing it with like white wine and stuff to like take the edge off. But then one day, like when my dad got a hip surgery, he came home with like a big bottle of hydrocodone and another big bottle of gabapentin, which is a opioid potentiator. And I don't know if I had done any research, but I just knew immediately before I ever even had tried an opiate. I was like, this is it. I just knew like, this is the thing. This is the thing. And the first time I did it, I just felt such a sense of like well-being and like homecoming. And it lasted like the entire day into the next day. I just felt like I'm healed. Like I know who I am. I felt like I saw myself very clearly. I saw my potential. I just felt well, like in a very wholesome kind of way. And it was like, I don't know, that wholesome feeling just gave me this sense like that even with all the guilt I had related to using substances, like there was something about opiates that felt good for me. Like it felt good for my brain. And so I could make an exception for them, and like, but I don't know. I never had too much of an opportunity to take it too far. And I would say that I was like a weekly opioid user, and I would use what I could when I could. But it was like the first 2 months I used a lot of my dad's hydrocodone. And then after that, it was just like, I never found like a real dealer, but it was always something that I was looking forward to. And I would frequently, almost every time I went to a friend's house or anyone's house, it was like checking their medicine cabinets and finding what I could find, I would find benzos, I would find tramadol, I would find oxys, I would find frequently just like 5 milligram hydrocodone. Sometimes I could get a 10, or a few. And it was just this rhythm that I would have. And it seemed like every week or two, I would find something great. And that was enough. I was really just self-medicating with it and using it to write music. Yeah, I mean, that was like another obsession that was going on that wasn't really going anywhere, that I wasn't being very realistic about, that I kind of used drugs to kind of like inflate my ego about. I could feel like I was really being like a rock star and writing good, profound songs because it was completely personal. It didn't have any kind of existence outside of my personal space. And I don't know, I told myself stories about how important this work I was making was, and that I could keep using drugs to fuel it. But that was I mean, the only other stories I had moments where I took things way too far. Like I would sometimes research the drugs I was doing and sometimes I would not. And I would get used to taking 5 pills of whatever it was that I had. And there were times when I took 5 lorazepam, which was just like a lot to take because I didn't regularly take lorazepam, and I would just black out and end up having to be babysat and, forget the whole 12 hours. And then it's like my sister or something, someone would be like, I didn't even know you had any kind of problem. Like, what just happened? We were just hanging out and then you were gone. So I had an experience like that on lorazepam. I had an experience like that on acid with my family because I took 2.5 tabs of acid one night, and I ended up breaking into my high school with this dude I didn't even know, and like in the rain, and like I ended up calling my dad just to tell him a joke at 3 a.m. And the joke was like, I was like, "Where do you think I am?" And he was like, "Benny, like what's going?" And I told him I was like taking the cat for a walk, which I just thought was really, really funny for some reason. But I ended up getting caught and disciplined and sent to a psychiatrist and shit for that. But then everyone very quickly forgot again that I had a problem because I think I was good at just seeming like I had my stuff together. Then there was another time on Ambien where I took like 6 Ambien and just like totally disappeared. And my friend DeAndre had to babysit me, and I came to like 7 hours later, just like covered in bruises and stuff. And so those are like the 3 main things I can remember that stand out in a way from high school. I mean, I would also do cocaine when I could get it. I would try anything, and but around junior year, I started actually getting less interested in songwriting and more interested in school. And that brought me out of my shell a little bit. And once I started feeling like, oh, I could actually be, because I was a bad student all throughout high school. And around junior year, I started getting some recognition for like essays I was writing, or just I was doing well on tests. And I started to just like kind of enjoy that recognition. And it really, I think that changed things. I would still use drugs for tests. I mean, I remember I was using cocaine during my SATs, but it was more rare and it was less obsessive because I kind of finally found something larger than myself that I could take seriously in a way, and that could give me a sense of self-respect, which is just doing well on my work. So once senior year came around, I enrolled in AP classes for the first time. And that then the drug use almost stopped. And I feel like I'd still do opiates every once in a while, but I was just smoking cigarettes and doing work, and I finally having relationships with teachers and stuff. And I'm really grateful that happened. Because then once I graduated high school, I did decide to go to college. And in college, it was such an exciting experience and such a shift from what I was used to. I went to a really small school because I felt like I needed that. It was only 800 students, and it was like close relationship with faculty, and it was like a good school, and I totally just put myself into my work and had my first romantic relationships, and like it almost felt like I wasn't even an addict for those years, except for one. Well, there was one thing that happened my freshman year, which was that I got really drunk, and I knew that there was like someone was on campus with Xanax and Coke, and it was someone in my house that I knew, and like everyone had like Coke, and I was like getting little tastes of it, and like at a certain point, once I was drunk enough, I like broke into his room when no one was there, and like took a lot of the stash for myself personally. But the thing was, like, while I was in there, the dude who lived there and a huge group of people who were like some of the most popular kids at the school, like showed up, and I had locked the door and I was in there. I was in his stash, like taking the drugs. And they knocked on the door and they were like, what the hell? Like the door's locked and everything. And yeah, that was a really scary experience. It was like the first couple of months at that school, and I was like, already, okay. And I kind of was like, I just kind of like fell over on, there was a bed beside the door, and I kind of just like fell over onto the bed and kind of like unlocked the door as I fell and kind of like opened the door. It was so awkward. But yeah, they that was really bad. And they ended up, I tried to play it off in that moment and kind of stumble out, but they ended up confronting me in front of like a bunch of cool people, like in a party at that room. And I was just like so messed up and like crying and denying it and everything. So that happened my freshman year. And then I just like didn't drink again for the next 3 years of school, of college, and didn't have any problems, probably because of that. So I don't know. I took the lessons, I guess, as they came, but after graduating, I graduated in 2019, and it was COVID, obviously, and I had gone through another breakup, and it was really, really hard, and kind of ego shattering. It was a really hard relationship to get out of. And I felt a ton of guilt and shame, and I kind of could sense that without any sense of direction coming out of school. Like I didn't really have a plan, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep doing work in art history, which is what I had studied. I sensed a relapse coming on, so I started going to outpatient therapy just to like work through personal issues and just like all my guilt and shame and stuff. And I was sober for that time. I even quit smoking. And then when I thought I was ready, I moved to New Orleans, where my sister lives. And that was really where the beginning of like feeling like I had a real problem happened. Or I don't know, like, yeah, that was when I started. It started just with like, I mean, the New Orleans culture is very much like you do a little acid, you're like drinking Trulies, and like you're doing a little mushrooms and a little Coke and everything. And yeah, I guess I thought I could handle it for whatever reason. In the new context, like, I've always needed like help being social or feeling comfortable in a social setting. And that was how it started. And I picked up smoking again, but almost as soon as I started using stuff like cocaine and psychedelics and stuff, like, and definitely especially alcohol, it just triggered this like depression, and like just just not trusting myself, kind of, in a very visceral way. Like, and I just started to feel like I needed opiates to get that sense of trust back, ironically, because it just made me feel so content. And I started ordering poppy seeds online, and I just started making poppy seed tea, which is a pretty strong opiate. I mean, like, I don't really know what to compare it to. I've never done heroin, but like it definitely, I would say, can go head to head with Oxy. And it has like codeine and morphine and thebaine in it. And I had a really good source online. And yeah, I started using that every day, as well as drinking a lot of whiskey, and ironically started working on songs again, just because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And that lasted about a year. I was running around with like one friend who liked cocaine a lot and kind of doing it with him. And, but yeah, I didn't ever really enjoy it. I just enjoyed the opiates. And, but yeah, when the next summer came around, my sister and I decided we were going to go on a road trip, to go up to Washington to visit my aunt. And, I was thinking that I could just go without any poppy seed tea and would, I don't know. It was almost like I was just throwing myself into that situation to just see how much of a problem I really had. Well, I don't know. That's kind of psychoanalyzing it, but that's what I decided to do. It was maybe also just like I didn't want my sister to think I had a problem, so I didn't want to come with drugs, you know. But she also knew I had a problem. Like I tried to tell her, but she had never seen it, so she almost didn't believe me. But yeah, so we went on this road trip, and within the first like 2 days, I was like, I was heavily in withdrawals. Like in the daytime, I couldn't like stay awake. Like in the car, I couldn't drive or anything. So I couldn't do any of the labor of the road trip. And at the hotels, I was just like forgetting everything. Like there's also like, I mean, we're all perfectionists in my family. So we're always competing to like be the best in a certain way, be the most on point and most organized. And like everything was just, I mean, I was leaving food out that like all I had to do was put it in the fridge, and it's just leaving shit out and it would rot. And like, I definitely couldn't plan any of our stops. We had like 8 stops along the way, and at night I couldn't sleep, and I was just like thinking about opiates, and I was like thinking about taking the car and trying to go hunt them down and everything. And like once we got to Colorado, it was like to the point where I was like trying to get her to pull over to just like any little natural food marts that we were passing to try to find some poppy seeds. And I would find some and they wouldn't really work. And, yeah, it was sad and depressing. We also just got into a ton of fights because I was just like in so much pain, and like I was like, I really need this. Like I'm so, like I obviously I feel like a total asshole, but like this is really painful. I just need like a decent fix, you know? And so it was just like she had to make this compromise that she just absolutely didn't consent to. And there was a lot of crying and fighting and stuff involved. And once I like got like one good fix when we were like in Grand Tetons, like I was kind of set. I suddenly, I felt great, obviously, and could sleep and was just like back on the charming, confident, like good little brother wheel. And we made it all the way to Washington. And in Washington, my aunt had hydrocodone in the bathroom. So I could last another few days, but my aunt also has a son who disappeared when he was 14 and reappeared 5 years later, having been like addicted to poppy seed tea for 5 years and dealing cocaine. And which is really weird because poppy seed tea is like not well known. I mean, it's relatively well known, but it's not very popular. So like my cousin happens to have also had the same addiction, and he had got on Suboxone to take care of it. And once he got on Suboxone, he ended up going to college and like studying philosophy. And then after that, going to grad school and studying law. and now works for like a respectable law firm type story. And he's not that great of a guy. He doesn't have a very good relationship with his family. And I don't think he's worked 12 step or there's like a lot of resentment there. But that was enough to make me, that was kind of when I started thinking about Suboxone. Cause obviously like my sister told my aunt some of what was going on, and I told my aunt some of what was going on. And she opened up to me about that experience with her son. And, so during this trip, I decided that, I probably wasn't going to be able to get the stability that I needed on my own, that I actually had a pretty serious problem. And so, shortly thereafter, I moved back home to Texas, and, for a while, I like just tried to stabilize on kratom, and I was just doing kratom every day, but it did feel like I wasn't moving forward. Like it wasn't, and it also wasn't stable because it was just draining my income. No insurance will cover that kind of thing. And, so I eventually did end up, finally calling a place and getting on Suboxone in Fort Worth, Texas. And that was just the very beginning of actual recovery. But that's the only thing that really worked for me. I would just say to anyone listening that it's amazing the difference that it does make. If you've considered it and like have a lot of psychological pain related to your addiction and just can't get shit under control, 12 step is really dope because they do teach you what to do when you feel like you can't control, because that's normal. Like no one can really control their addiction. But Suboxone is, I think, an amazing place to start because it just gives you a sense of peace, and you can relax and like you can start focusing on some of your larger concerns and ambitions, and it can help you build some of that confidence back. My time, but and so since then, the reason that I had a relapse recently, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of reasons, but one reason is like Suboxone also doesn't fix everything. And there's like a lot of mental illness left over from my addiction. Like just, there's a lot of anxiety and depression. And like wrapped up in like my ambition, the way I want to live my life, and how far behind I frequently feel that I am with these goals. It's easy to start getting really paranoid, and like I blamed a lot of my mental problems for a while on the Suboxone, and was desperate to get off of it. And it was in kind of, I think, just cutting off my use prematurely that I started to relapse. And I also see relapse. I mean, I don't know. I have a weird relationship with drugs because I don't, like, the only thing I've used in my relapse is like kratom and psychedelics and THC and stuff. And so I never felt like, I don't personally feel like it's like a life or death situation for me. And I think that I'm very privileged in that way, but like, I just don't feel that way about my, and I learned a lot from this relapse. And it also definitely sucked, and I felt very out of control, and like, I felt incapable of showing up to these groups, for the past month or more than a month. And sometimes I still did show up, but it was that I no longer had that space in me that I could fill up with the presence of others, and like the concern and light and intelligence and, life of others. It was like that space I had filled up with something else, with like an artificial sense of well-being. And, I hate to foreclose the possibility of life actually doing things for me. And I think that that's what doing drugs does for me. I think it's taking control back into my own hands, and it feels like it works for a while, and it feels like I really know best. But in the end, I don't know enough about life, to say that, because every emotion that I'm going through and every day and every interaction, there's the potential for some kind of realization that could actually like change everything and change my self-conception and how I want to live my life. And like, yeah, I just don't know enough to foreclose that opportunity. So, and it feels great to connect with people and connect with life. So I am here in that phase, and I happen to be pretty close with God now. I missed the part where I was raised religious. My dad is a preacher, but so I'm sorry. It's pretty scattered. I really didn't prepare this well, but here I am, and very happy to be here, even though I'm pretty depressed. So,
thanks, Benny. For not being prepared, that was pretty perfect. It really was. It really was. I took a lot of notes while you were talking, which I always do. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. We all do, I know. And what you said there at the end about not knowing enough about life. Who does? Does any of us? I don't know if any of us do. And it's all a learning process. But what you did was you painted this incredibly, well, I hate to say beautiful, but beautiful portrait of the obsession of what we do. It's not the drug. It's not the substance itself. It's the obsession with it, like that cross-country trip you were talking about, which I think you had talked to me about once before. I remembered that it doesn't matter what the drug is, the obsession of needing it. I need to find this somehow. We need to pull off the road. We need to, there has to be a way to get this. And I think that's a great description of what addiction is. It's that obsession that takes over. And it's just, we can't fight it. And I think you said that more than once, that you just can't fight it. There's a lot of things here. I'm going to let the other guys say a few things too while I mull this over further, and I'm sure I'll have more to add. Who wants to chime in and reflect on this? Audrey, go ahead.
I will chime in. Still raising my hand here, raising a finger. But yeah, Benny, thank you for sharing everything. I think for saying you're not prepared, I think that was a well said, well thought out story and everything. Yeah, and I appreciate your being honest about relapsing and just about everything. Like the amount of, I could like picture everything happening when you were describing it, so I can see why in high school they would say you were a good writer. But anyway, I could relate to, I guess, like feeling like you want to use drugs because you're not enough, or you want to be more productive, and just like not really filling the void, but like filling everything that you feel self-conscious about, or like everything. It's like that you're at 75%, and then when you use, you're at like 110. I don't know. And then I can also relate to like when you said you were on the road trip and you were getting sick and you had to go and find drugs to feel better. I mean, I had one point when I was on a trip with my family and I like lied to my brother to drive me somewhere to pick up some drugs off of some guy that I started talking to on the internet, asking for drugs on this random app. But like, it's the lengths that we go to get drugs when we feel like we need it so bad. It's crazy. And I'm just glad that you're here and you're able to share everything. And I do think you are very wise. So thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. John, do you want to
Sure.
reflect?
Benny. Yeah, absolutely. Benny, thank you so much for your share. You articulated a lot of things very well. Where do I begin? I mean, first of all, I think it's absolutely amazing that you can acknowledge the fact that, you know, you said earlier, you know, like, oh, I feel like I'm about to relapse. Like, just even acknowledging that is a huge step, right? Like, for anybody who's in addiction, I think detecting the warning signs before it actually happens is always a good thing. And you're very perceptive and articulate and very smart. So I think you're just absolutely courageous for being able to show up for this podcast and tell your story in the way you did. I think it was well put and articulated very well. I could relate to a lot of what you said, and you know, especially towards the end there when you were talking about feeling, you know, you had mentioned, you know, getting on Suboxone and then kind of blaming it for some of your problems, and then in some cases, and correct me if I'm wrong if I got this incorrect, but this is what I thought I heard. But yeah, like kind of like where, you know, I've been in that place where, you know, I was on Suboxone. I don't know. I was kind of like blaming my problems on the Suboxone when it was just really me and not addressing my underlying mental health problems. And I could relate to that a lot. And I think you put it really well. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. I'm grateful that I was here to hear it. And yeah, thank you so much, Benny. I really appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Amy?
I really could, I got with the far behind with your goals. When you feel like you're just far behind, I feel like I'm like decades behind. And so I could really relate to that. And I could relate to your whole story actually, because that's the times that and things I've done just to try to, you know, score some dope. You know, it's just sad when I look back. But it all leads to here, right? So I really appreciate you telling the story, and you're very truthful in it and honest, and I thought you did a great job, and I'm so glad you're here. I really am.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
It's been
Thank you.
it's been great getting to know you over the last year and a half or however long we've been talking. I don't even know, but yeah, you know, it takes a lot of courage, to be honest, with ourselves and with anybody else. And you know, you showed that. And you also, I remember towards the end of what you were talking about, you did mention that, you know, the Suboxone it's a part of this. It's a component of recovery. You know, and John said the same thing, that there are other things we have to deal with here. Like, you know, you get therapists, you get some counseling, maybe 12-step if it works for you, which it doesn't for a lot of people. But, you know, one of the reasons we come together is because a lot of people in our program don't want to have anything to do with 12-step work, and that's fine. Nobody has to do anything. We're all here voluntarily, aren't we? In fact, everyone in our whole program is there voluntarily. Nobody's mandated to be doing anything. We want to be clean. You know, we don't want to be in that place where, I don't know, it sounds like, and I know that place where I just don't know what I want. I don't know if sobriety is the way to go. I don't know if I have a problem. I don't know what I can do. And that's a really difficult place to be. And I know it well. I was in that spot for a good 8 years while I was relapsing over and over and over and making these feeble attempts at sobriety. And they were pretty feeble because I think, you know, in all honesty, like, and I think you kind of touched on this, that I wasn't so sure that I wanted to be so. You know, I don't know what was wrong with being high all the time. You know, I managed, sort of. It's like we always say that being what do you call it? A functioning addict, functioning alcoholic. That's not reality. There is no functioning. You know, that's something we delude ourselves with, and I deluded myself for a long time. thinking I was functional, and I absolutely was not functional. And that's why, everything in the end falls apart, and I also like that you said you don't feel that this is a life or death issue for you, as it is for many people. And maybe it's not right now, but who knows 5 years from now what it's going to be like. And you have an opportunity to address this now, which you're doing, right? And you have choices. You can make a choice to continue to use if you want to. I mean, it's your choice. We all make this choice. And like I said, in the beginning of my spiel, in all of these, we make a choice every day to be sober. It's a decision. It's not the law, right? I mean, well, unless we're breaking law, but it's not, nobody says, you have to do anything. This is up to you. And I'm really glad you got into the mix too, because that's something that doesn't get talked about very much in these things. So we'd love to talk about that more, actually, at some, at other times, because it's important to a lot of people. And that's something else that there's a component of recovery that can be a component of recovery. So I think all the things you brought up are incredibly relevant, incredibly important, and poignant. And you are very well spoken, extremely intelligent, as I've told you many, many times, because I appreciate all the conversations that you and I have had, and you bring a lot to the mix here. You really do. I think you bring a lot probably to everyone you touch. So really, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here, really, for showing up, because I know how difficult it's been. And I really do greatly appreciate, bringing that part of it, because we need to hear that too. This isn't magic. This is hard work, and these are tough decisions. And this is a really, really difficult process, and it's really important to understand that it doesn't work. Like, it just doesn't. You don't walk in the door and then, like people say, it's rainbows and unicorns. It just doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. It's a struggle. And you have made that absolutely clear by telling us your story tonight. So again, I really appreciate it. And I think it may be time for us to do our lightning round of gratitude. Unless anybody else wants to say more, please feel free. Nope. Okay. Let's go around and let's have a little gratitude, because it's a good night for it. Audrey, you want to go first?
Sure. Bennie, I am grateful that you're here and you're being honest and you're showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for sharing. Thank you for listening. And let's see, I'm grateful that I got to spend some time with family that I haven't seen in a while this weekend.
Thanks. John, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Bennie, thank you so much for your story tonight. I always learn something new and gain a new perspective when I hear everybody's stories. It's really a blessing to be able to partake in this, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm grateful that you are here and partaking in your recovery and showing up, even when it's hard. And I'm grateful for a lot of things. I'm grateful for my wife. Grateful to be alive and sober today. I'm grateful to be part of this podcast and part of this group. And I'm grateful to be able to call everybody here a friend.
That's great. Thanks, John. Amy?
I'm grateful to God for getting me through this week. And, last week, and hopefully this week too. Grateful for Bennie and him telling his story. I always learn something too, or remember something. And it was just great. We appreciate you, Bennie. I appreciate all of y'all. And I consider you my friends, my family, really. And I'm grateful for y'all and my family.
Thanks, Amy. Bennie, how about you?
Yeah. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm just grateful for y'all's support, and it's weird. It's pretty weird. It's weird being in a space like this and just, I don't know. I don't know. I could have said anything. I know you guys would have my back and take something from it. And, yeah, it's really nice. I mean, I was very close to using tonight also, for the record, and if I had done that, I might have still shown up, I probably couldn't have shared, but you're giving me a reason to pull through for you guys. So. And I don't know, it always pays off because this is real life, it's worth living. But yeah, other things I'm grateful for. I just want to mention, like, I've been in the honeymoon phase of like a little relationship, which has been really nice and has also given me extra motivation to get my shit together. And I really don't want to be having red flags for this person who I really, really care about. And, I think I've been praying a lot, so I think God might be involved in that. I've also been running, and I sprained my ankle the other day, and I haven't been able to for today and yesterday, but it has helped me a lot. I have to say, I have to attest to that. Running has been a great thing to replace. Like, it also got me kind of out of my most recent relapse. I think for addicts, it can be especially helpful and can give you that click, the click that you need. So, but yeah, so I'm grateful for those things, and I'm so grateful for you, Chris. You've taught me so much about my own recovery, and you've always been so generous about pointing out my autonomy, and my role in this. And I wouldn't be doing it in a way. I need to be doing it in my way. That doesn't mean I need to be doing it alone. I need other people, but if I'm not doing it my way, at the end of the day, I'm always going to find something I find unacceptable. I just can't. I just have to. So I just appreciate you giving me that perspective always and empowering me to recover in the way that I can. So grateful for all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bennie. I appreciate your saying that. I'm totally there with the running. I'm grateful that I can still do that because, getting a little older and I still hit 3 miles this morning. And it really does make a big difference in my life to be able to do that. So I'm grateful that I do have my health still. I'm getting older, 62. No spring chicken. And, I'm glad that I still am physically able to do some of these things. And I am so grateful for you guys. I know I say this every week, but I just can't tell you how much I appreciate your honesty, your genuine concern for each other, and admiration for each other, for all of us. You're really an amazing group. And I've heard this from other people too. Trust me, it's not just me, but people who have heard this have said, wow, that's an incredible group that you have, that they really care about each other. And it's obvious that they're all really focused, and recovery is very, very important to everyone here, and helping each other through it. And it just comes through in these recordings that we do. People are picking up on that. And I'm getting comments like that, like, wow, what a great group. It's amazing. So I'm so grateful to all of you. I get as much more probably. I don't know how much more, but I get an awful lot out of all of you, out of talking to all of you individually and, as a group every week. I just so appreciate all of this. So that is that. So next week, I guess I'm in the hot seat, because I'm the only one left. So trust me, I still get nervous when I do these things too, but I have a whole week to think about it, which I won't, because it's much better off the cuff. It really is. I've done it a bunch of times and I'll still be very nervous. Anyway, that's it. And thanks again, Bennie, for bringing all of that insight and honesty and all of you. And thanks to our listeners, which we have now. I mean, I'm seeing some views on our channel. And so people are starting to log in, and we're spreading the word.
Yeah, thank you, listeners. We appreciate you.
We do. We really do. So anyway, and if anybody out there has any thoughts you'd like to share with us about what you heard today, it's you can send us a note through any of the various available channels, which are YouTube, Spotify, Audible, Odyssey, and Amazon Music, I believe. I don't think we're on Apple Podcasts quite yet. But we look forward to hearing from you. So thanks again, everybody, for being here. And have a great week, all right? We'll do it again next week.